Hi everyone, and welcome to my new channel. I'm going to be doing all kinds of different videos on this channel. I'm not going to have really a specific thing that I'm going for, but this is going to be my first video, and I'm going to tell you about something about me that I've recently discovered myself, and that is that I am gay. I know that most of the people here and on YouTube and everything, a lot of the times people have known for a long time and, we're a little bit more prepared, but I am recently out, and while my story is still not finished, I thought I would let you know about how it's going so far. I've told the majority of my family, and I'll let you know about their different reactions and things, later on when I get to that point. But I would like to start from the very beginning. If you see me looking over here, I have a little, cheat sheet of me, because I don't want to, have to go back and forth. I want to just start from the beginning. I'm very OCD with that kind of thing. So basically, back in elementary school, I was your average kid. I was shy, and I was introverted, and, I was naive, and I was just normal. Nothing really started to hit me until I got into middle school. And in middle school, around, 5th grade or so, that's when all of the girls, all of my friends had started developing crushes on boys. Everybody was starting to get little interest and have little, boyfriends, even though they weren't anything. And I just had no interest. I had none. I was not about it. And I remember my first crush, though, was in 5th grade. My first guy crush, if you can call it that, because I realize now that it really wasn't a crush. I just thought it was back at that time. And it was on this kid, and the only reason that I had developed a crush on him was because he had done something nice for me in one of my classes. And for some reason, my mind had me register that as a crush. And maybe it's because everybody around me was crushing and asking me who I had a crush on. So I think it was easy for me to be able to pick this kid because he was nice to me. Not that everybody else wasn't, but, he had just initiated something like that. And so that's kind of what I based it on. But I realize now that I just kind of felt happy that he did something nice for me, that it wasn't really a crush. Later in my 5th grade year, I realized that I had developed a crush. At the time, I thought it was just an obsession, a weird obsession. I started noticing that I had weird obsessions with girls. And I didn't know at the time if it was because I wanted to be like them, but when I would think about that, it didn't make sense to me, because I'd be more obsessed with the fact that I thought they were beautiful. I remember in 5th grade having a crush on an 8th grader, an 8th grade girl, and I just remember, always looking at her. She was in we shared a similar class, one of our extracurricular, classes. And having her in that kind of, I started to realize that I was like, okay, well, why am I having these weird obsessions with these girls? It didn't make sense to me. I was like, I don't think anybody else around me, any of my friends have these weird obsessions with girls. And I didn't really think twice about it. At that time, it's weird for me to say, but at that time, I didn't really know what gay was. I knew that guys could be gay, but I didn't know that girls could be. I thought it was just strictly a guy thing. So it didn't register in my mind then. And then, as the years went by, I still had developed a couple different crushes on a couple different girls that I just thought, were obsessions again. And in 8th grade, I developed a obsession or crush on this girl that had just moved to my grade. But I never did anything with it. Obviously, I didn't even know what it meant. Freshman year of high school, that's when everybody starts to, figure out who they are and things like that. And I thought I was going to go through that process. But I didn't, obviously didn't think, I'm figuring out who I am. I need to work on that. It's just something that you go through. I did date guys. I dated a guy my freshman year of high school, but it was only for a couple weeks, and nothing happened. We didn't walk down the hallway together. I don't think we even talked in those 3 weeks. And at that time, I had a really close friend of mine that was a couple grades above me, a girl, and I had one of those obsession crushes on her. You know, it didn't register in my mind still. I was still, like, naive about everything, even though I remember one day during my freshman year, when I had come home from school, my mom had pulled me into her bedroom and asked me if I was a lesbian. And I remember freaking out on the inside and being like, no, I'm not. Like, I like guys, Mom, I like guys. She was like, okay, just making sure, you know, it's okay if you are. And I was like, no. I didn't think that anybody that was a lesbian was bad or anything. I just got kind of freaked out. And even after she had asked me that, I didn't think about it. I didn't think, well, maybe she's right. I just let it go. My sophomore year of high school came around, and I still didn't know who I was. And not that everybody had gotten to that point yet. But I had just started feeling very unhappy with myself. I felt like the inside of me was an inner struggle, and I started to get depressed. Senior year of high school, I was still in that dark place. Still hadn't figured out who I was. People would ask me, tell me, if somebody asked you, hi, who are you? What would you say to them? And I would honestly have no idea. I started working my senior year at one of our local movie theaters, and I had met a couple other people there. While I feel like that movie theater was a little bit more of a liberal place for me, as far as I learned a lot about life working at that movie theater. Not, the town that I grew up in, being gay or whatever was not frowned upon, but it really wasn't spoken of either. So when I went to the movie theater and started working there, I had met a couple people that became my friends, and I would tell them, they'd be like, oh, who are your celebrity crushes? And I would list off all these girls, and no guys. And I remember having one specific friend one time asking me, so do you like girls in that way? Hold on, I need to check that. Where was I? So yes, he had asked me, do you like girls in that way? And that's when I kind of sat there and thought about it for a moment. And I was like, well, but I dated guys in high school. I dated a couple of them. And I sat there and I thought about it, and I was like, well, I still kind of found guys attractive as far as, like, their looks. And I kind of felt weird if I didn't date guys at that time, because that's what I was used to. That's how everybody around me growing up was. I knew that I had some sort of attraction for girls. That's when I decided that I was bi. I came out as bisexual. I didn't come out to a ton of people, mainly my close friends and one particular relative, but my parents did not know, and I knew I was bi for some sort of, because I had some sort of attraction, but I had never been with a girl in any way, shape, or form. I lived as bisexual for a couple years, probably about 4 years. No, it was longer than that, like 5 or 6 years. Because I was bisexual when I started dating this kid when I was 21 years old. Me and him dated for about 2.5 years. When we first started dating, we were happy. Things were fine, things were normal. I told him that I was bisexual and he was okay with it, had nothing against it. As those 2.5 years went by, things with us began to struggle, and my inner demons were only getting stronger and stronger. I was still depressed. I still hadn't figured out who I was. I would go to therapy, and I would have a couple different therapists, and after, 5 or 6 months or to a year of me being there with a couple different people, I would get out and I would feel fine for a few months, but then it would always revert back to me being unhappy with myself. I remember dating him, and throughout the whole time I was dating him, my feelings for women got stronger. Just got stronger and stronger. And I remember, as I was with him, I remember being, thinking in my mind that I wish I was with a girl. Like, I want a girlfriend. He was always supportive of me being bi and everything, and even if I did develop a crush on a woman while I was with him, he was supportive of it, and I feel like that's not how a relationship is supposed to go. He should have been like, no, like you're with me. Just because I have a crush on a woman and not a man, that doesn't mean that you shouldn't still be upset. Close to like the end of our relationship, I kind of realized that I would start saying that I was 90% into women, 10% into men. I feel like I need to burp. And I did. Excuse me. Time went on. I started to notice things between him and I were not working out. I was still feeling strongly for women. I still wanted a girlfriend. I was like, well, I could be with him, I stayed with him mainly for my mother, because I thought that if I had ever said how I was feeling with me being bi or anything, that I would disappoint her, and I didn't want to disappoint her. That was just a scary thing for me. While dating him, I'd always heard those stories. I'm a hopeless romantic, and so I'd always hear those stories about, like, first kisses, you feel fireworks behind them, and when you say I love you, it's just like this magical moment, and unfortunately with him, that was never the case. It wasn't his fault. It really wasn't, because he was a good guy. But, there were times where he would get upset with me because I would just be kissing him and kissing him and kissing him, and I never really realized why I wanted to kiss him so much until later, when I realized that I was trying to feel something. I was trying to feel what everybody had talked about when you have first kisses with people, or kisses at all when you are with somebody that you are truly in love with. He would always be the one to say, I love you first, and I would just respond. I just started to realize that it wasn't fair to him. When I was 23 and we were nearing we had just had our 2-year, me and this guy had just had our 2-year anniversary. And this was back actually in August of last year, August of 2014. I met this girl. And while I met her without the intentions of becoming what we are now, I noticed that when I met her, something immediately was different. I can't even describe it. I just knew that something was different about this girl. And it almost felt like when she introduced herself to me that I had known her for years. Like I didn't need an introduction. Can we not? Her and I didn't start out as anything. We were merely friends. I remember I was struggling a lot with my sexuality when she met me. And I remember talking to her and being like, I need help, I need a friend, and I didn't really have anybody else at the time. And she was like, well, what are you struggling with? And I told her, well, I'm bisexual. And I have a boyfriend, but I don't want to be with a boy. And I remember being like, please don't judge me, don't do anything like that. And she was like, oh, honey, no, it's fine, I'm gay. That was probably where everything started off. Why would she tell me that she was gay? That's probably why we're in this predicament that we are in now. We started off as friends, and she actually started off trying to help me rekindle this relationship with my now ex-boyfriend. And, was trying to basically just tell me how to be able to fix it. She would always be like, just make sure that you invite me to the wedding. Let me be a bridesmaid. She would say that all the time, and I would get so annoyed. Until one day she said that to me, and I said, I don't want you to be a bridesmaid. That kind of surprised me. That shocked the living crap out of me when I said that, because I said it without thinking, and it was just coming straight from a feeling that I had. From there, we kind of started, even though I was with somebody already, we were starting to talk. I remember back in October, after knowing her for about 2 months, she came and visited me. I remember her coming up here, and we were both so nervous. And there was a point where, when I was nervous, I was just talking and rambling on, and she cut me off and shut me up by kissing me. That was the very first time that I had ever felt anything behind a kiss. And that's kind of when things started to click for me. Because when she kissed me, my body literally started to tremble. Like she had to hold my body up. And it was just this feeling of just, finally, I feel something. During that trip, she was only here for a few days. The day before she had to leave, I remember telling her, she's like, so how do you feel? Like, what's it, are you happy? Or, whatever she was asking me. And I remember being like, I think I'm gay. And nothing registered for me then. Like, I said that, but it wasn't like, it didn't hit me. And then we got in a Skype call with one of our other friends, one of our mutual friends. And she was like, oh, well, tell him what you told me earlier. And I remember having the hardest time saying it, even though I had already said it in front of her once. It was the hardest thing for me to say. And I remember putting my face in my hands, and I just started to cry and cry and cry. She ended up getting out of the call with him so she could comfort me, because that's when I officially had came out to myself, and it had hit me. And while it was such a scary experience, at the same time it was very relieving, and I felt so satisfied because I finally felt like I knew who I was. She just comforted me, and the whole thing with me doing that was very nostalgic for her. And she was like, she's like, I'm here for you. I've done this myself, and I know what it's like. And it is a very scary thing. And I told her, I was like, yeah, it's scary, but I know that's what it is. I know it's the truth. I felt okay after she left. Like, it registered in my mind and I was okay with who I was. But now came the time where I had to break up with my ex-boyfriend because I was gay. Getting through that was hard. He's very much in denial over it and things like that. But I managed to get out of it. And on November 22nd of 2014, I officially came out to my mother. For the basic gist of it, I came out to her on a little mini family trip with me, her, and two of my sisters. And I came out to one of my sisters first before I came out to her. And I didn't expect to come out to her that night. It was something that I was bottling in. I was very happily with somebody, and still am, with the same person actually. And I just wanted to be able to share that with her. She had known that me and my ex broke up, and I never really gave her a definite reason as to why we broke up. I just would blow it off and say, oh, we just didn't work out. I told her, and in all honesty, she reacted the best way she could. Like, I didn't think she would ever take it badly, but I didn't. You just have to prepare yourself for the worst just in case. She was completely fine with it. Apparently she had known for years, and apparently now that I've been coming out to some of my family members, everybody I've came out to so far that has been family has known since I was 7 years old. I guess they've been having discussions about it since I was like 7, and I'm like, thanks guys for no help. So to this day, there's still a couple people that I have to come out to, but the majority of my family knows, and it's such a relieving feeling, and I'm so happy because now I'm in a relationship where I actually feel something, and it feels right. And while I do have some family members that aren't so accepting of it, I'm happy, and it's the first time in my life that I've ever truly felt happy. Like, people have even said once I started to come out, like, without even knowing that that's what I've been going through or that's how I am, that they've noticed that I have this different aura around me, and that I just have so much, like, I'm so self-assured now, and everybody's just taking notice of it. And since I figured out that I was gay, I haven't had depression. I figure it's because I just couldn't figure out who I was, and I was fighting with myself on the inside for so long over it. And now I'm happy to say that I can, that I am gay, and I'm fine with it. So thank you guys for watching. I'm sure I left a lot of stuff out, but I wanted to give you the general gist of it. But yeah, thank you guys for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe. I'm going to be doing other things on this channel other than just LGBTQ plus videos. I'm going to be doing some beauty stuff because I am going to school for hair and makeup, and I also sell Mary Kay, so I'm going to be starting to do some videos with that, and I will see you guys next time. Bye!